continue. Now we are going to practice 12.1, and we are going to uh, map field, both source and target, if you can see, and then address type elements in the target list to locate the name element. We are going to populate. So let's do that now. Let's go back into our mapper, and I believe that yeah, the filter is already on all. So if you have hadn't closed it, so you wouldn't need to restore it to all where we had map field prior to it. So mine is already there. I want to go to addresses, address type. There is all the mappings we did so far, and what we're looking for now is the address type, specifically name. So this is the one that we want to populate with information. Let's get that, leave that highlighted here. And once we have located that, we now can expand the components pane to find the lookups value function. Once we find that functions, we want to drag and drop that onto the name. That's step 14. This is going to launch our lookup function wizard that we need to build the parameters for that function. So let's do that. We first go click on the toggle function pane right up here. There, right, expand integration cloud. There is that lookup value function, and we drag that onto the element which now launches our wizard. So the first part of the wizard is it simply allows us to select which lookup we are using, and you could choose your address type, and you could be use another. So now notice the source column side, we are indicating which one is the engagement cloud the source, or it is the service cloud the source. Well, in this scenario, the engagement cloud is the source. So we choose that link, and we can see some of the sample values in there. And when we click on the target, we obviously have only one left here. We click on the service cloud right now, we can see the mapped value so far. So let's go back to our instructions in data. That's what they are walking us. So we click on next, and at that point we will need to provide a default value. So we will make building the default if one isn't there, and click on next. And here is summary, and so here's the lookup table we are using. Here the source, here is the target right now. Here's the default value, and notice this one is the in the middle source value. That one has to be done in the editor. So we have got a placeholder where that source value is going to be. So we click on done, which now gets us to part two of these configurations. And now we need to search for that source value, which in this case we will be the address element attribute one under directly underneath the account. So be careful, make sure you get the right one. Once again, I'm going to do that by clicking on search address attribute element one, and you can see, right, as address attribute element one, right, one. Yes, and I obviously mistyped it. Let me go back in and look at that again. I'm sorry, I got the back was address element attribute one. How about that? Element attribute one, and it comes up, and I just want to make sure it is indeed a child as a scroll up of account, and indeed it's at that highest level. So notice when you click on that, you can also look at note info, and it will give you the full path to this element indeed. So it's account address element attribute one. So I got the right one. This particular use data objects. There is actually more than one of these elements. Obviously, with a different namespace. So now that I have found that, let's look at the lab instruction, and then I'll demonstrate how to do this next. We want to replace that source value, which is now a placeholder, with the value of this field. The easiest way to do that is simply to drag and drop it into the right locations. I'm going to do that now. So watch how I didn't tell that. What I'm going to give this source value, and then give myself a little bit of room between those two commas, and then I'm simply drag and drop right there. Now I'm between two those comma and two columns, and I can get rid of extra space if I want. So if not relatively important. So we are done, and this mapping, and close, and save one more time. And only thing we now uh, need to do is add this address type list action attributes. So this is a little bit more tricky. We are going to go back to the target side, and this time we need to set it to the value. So I'm going to open up my mapper, expand address address type, and I'm looking at there's this action under type, and looking there's the action under type address list. So what the instructions want you to do is, once you have located that actions, we need to right click it to make it a target node. And once we make it a target node in the expression box, we can use a value to make a text. Now the instructions, so one way of doing it by putting a double quotes around that expressions. I am going to show you another way doing it. Either one will work. So what I'm going to do is click on this, make this a target node. And then once I have made it a target node, if we'll notice down below, what I can do is just simply type at without the double quotes. No, I can't. I'm sorry. I am thinking of another part of the mapper. Yeah, these instructions are correct because this part of direct mapping, we haven't set it as text field yet. So by clicking that and saving it, I can now notice it automatically pops it up as a text value, which I can provide. I'm thinking of another part. We will see that in a later part lecture where we are going to actually save the text, which set it as a text note. I'll show you that in another lab exercise. So indeed, looks that we have the mapping. We can validate, close, and save. And after save, we are almost done. Now only thing left to do is we need to make sure that we can provide the tracking information. So our mapping is complete as in this screenshot, and this is a warning again. I showed you carefully. Make sure you get the right address element attribute one. There's actually more than one of those. Make sure you get the one that's directly a child of account. Also, if